Good morning again, everyone. It is extremely cold and extremely bright this morning. My goodness. I am about at the apex of my walking circuit, and I'll be turning around so I can take my blast shield up. But man, it's cold. It's like 10-15 degrees this morning, and it's breezy. So it's just stripping the heat right out of me. So I actually had to wear a coat today, which normally I don't like to do. But when it's cold enough to make Yizz wear a coat, you know it's cold. All right. Anyway, and of course we will say good morning to the farm and the horses here. Good morning, etc., etc. Hello, favorite tree. If you've been here a while, you know the drill. Now, oh, hello, roadkill. Good morning, roadkill. That's some possum that didn't make it. All right. Anyway, there's a thing I want to talk about today that is both shallow and deep. It is why an individual is not a predictor of a group, and why a group is not a good predictor of an individual. And I know that this might sound like liberal or progressive hokum, but it is a truism that I need to explain. I have had contentious low IQ people before in my chat, sending me hate mails, sending me ugly messages on Twitter, telling me that I am some kind of bad, detriment, problem, cancer to whatever the movement means when these idiots say that, because I talk to people who might be homosexual or I don't know, Jewish, right? And I do not think that is an intelligent, high IQ thing to say. And this is a thing that I've dealt with for years, of course. This is nothing new. But I got to thinking yesterday, I got into an argument, I didn't get into an argument. There was an argument occurring on Twitter. Not anything that I started, but I participated in it a bit. There were some pro-white people against this anti-white moron who was posting and saying a bunch of dumb shit. And out of one side of its mouth, it was saying that white people are bad and white people are slavers and oppressors and the usual anti-white gobbledygook. And out of the other side of its mouth, the vermin was saying that race and sex and stuff like that is either a construct or something that is not real, that we just use to oppress others. Just this horrifically stupid, brainless, low IQ, false dichotomy bullshit. And nothing that it was saying was sensible or anything like that. But the arguments that I saw some people on quote-unquote my side of things, but I didn't really want to pick a side, they were engaging in the failed tactic and low IQ game of, I'm going to show how this group is actually the bad guy. I'm going to show how the Democrats are the real racists. I'm going to show how the Jews are the real slavers. I'm going to show how the Muslims are the real conquerors. And it's just really low IQ, bad tactics, and it makes you look stupid. And I don't want people on quote-unquote my side to be that way. I don't want anybody to be that way. So what we're going to talk about today is why that kind of thing sticks in my craw, okay? I can't take this up yet. It's too bright. The reason why I perhaps am some kind of middle ground between the, whatever you want to call the other side of the traditional or nationalist divide. Maybe that's progressive to you, maybe that's libertarian to you, I don't know. But I do think that individuals are not predictors of groups, and groups do not necessarily predict an individual. Now, why do I say this? Because it's fucking true, you morons. It's fucking true, okay? When you know someone who's a good person, and maybe later you find out that they have Jews in their family, or they have Muslims in their family, and 2 generations ago, they came from Muslims that immigrated to this country. Well, does that automatically make the person that you know a banker or a terrorist? No, it doesn't. Now, the transverse of this is also true. Just because you know a Jewish person, or a Muslim person, or a black person, or Asian, or whatever it is, that is a good person, that does not dispel the collective data of the groups that person you know represents. Good example. My cousin, whom I won't name, we call him Hoop, so I guess that's safe to say. My cousin Hoop, he has been friends with black guys since he was young. He loves basketball. He's tall like most men in my family, really naturally good at athletics and shooting and fighting. And so he's always been into sports. And a lot of the guys that he met when he was young were black dudes, regular black dudes from America, just in the South, right? He's been down to Atlanta to play b-ball. He's been to Nashville. When he was young, he almost got a college scholarship. I think it was to Kentucky. I don't remember where, but anyway, he's always been great at basketball, and he made some good black friends. One of them, whom I won't name, is a good man. I've met him several times. I even shot hoops with him several times in my 20s and in my teens, I think, a few times. But why do I bring this man up? He's a black dude, regular Southern black dude, and he's a good man, and he and my cousin, for years, pro bono, not making money off of it, they are part of a big network that teach young men, especially young poor men, which are in the South a lot of times black, they teach them how to be responsible, how to be good fathers, how to not, and this is right out of my cousin's friend's mouth. He says, I want to save young men from being stupid niggers. That he says that all the time. He says it in front of black guys because he says that, because he's my age, we're all around 40, 42, 45. He was disgusted at all of the disgusting anti-black, you should be a thug, you should be a criminal music and TV shows and stuff in the 80s and 90s. And of course, I know a lot of us know that all that stuff's just bullshit anyway. But the point is, this black dude, my cousin knows, I know him. He's been a part of our lives since we were kids, and he's a good man. He espouses the values of my people and my kin here. Noisy truck went by. I'm going to have to cut all that out. Anyway, where was I? God, the loud noise really throws my train of thought. Anyway, I talk to my cousin all the time, and he tells me that through his whole life, this guy has been a stand-up dude, and he's taught other people around him to be stand-up dudes and be responsible fathers and choose women wisely and all this other stuff. So that's a good example of an individual that is a good man who is not the same race as me. Another good example is a libertarian guy I know who by blood is Jewish. He has family from Israel. He's not Jewish. He doesn't practice, but his lineage is Ashkenazi Jewish. But is he an evil banker? Is he an anti-white that runs a pedo ring in California? No. He's a good guy. He's got his own business he's starting. He's got a non-Jewish wife, and they're not going to teach their kids anything about Judaism or being Jewish matters. He cares about the well-being of white people. He's a good guy. He wants to do what is right. He cares about a mix of Mises libertarian and nationalist values. He wants to create parallel economies and businesses and things and teach people to go their own way and move away from the cancerous system. I mean, because of his Jewish heritage, he's certainly not afraid to name the ADL and talk about Zog and shit. So, is he a bad person? Is he evil? No, I don't think so. I think he's a good guy too. So, the reason I bring these up is these are examples of individuals not predicting a group and them being shining positive examples. But let's say you have a negative example. Let's say you know a guy who might be Muslim, right? Maybe he moved here or his family moved here, and he ends up being just a total rancid piece of shit. Maybe he beats up your sister, or he, God forbid, is part of some grooming gang or whatever and does some horrible rapey shit. Well, just because that individual happened to play into group stereotype is not a reason to think all members of this demographic or this, I don't know, of this slice of immutable characteristics are guaranteed to behave this way. The truth is, individual metrics and group metrics do not predict each other, but they should be taken into account for your actions and whom you choose to bring around you. Individually, if you know a person well, and you know them, and you judge their character, and you think that they are good and safe to invest your time in, to be a friend of your family, you have made that judgment call based on your experiences with that individual. When it comes to group metrics, the individual you know, whether positive or negative, should not influence your actions and behavior based on what the group data say. And why does this matter? It matters because we are more than just individuals. We are part of groups with immutable characteristics. We are part of an ethnicity. a religion, a race. We are part of countries that have evolved for sometimes in Europe, hundreds if not thousands of years. And people have traits. Birds of a feather flock together. And just like all of God's creatures, like that bird that almost shit on me that just flew over my shoulder and dropped a load behind me. All of the creatures of God's earth share genetics. We share genetic code, but we're not the same. Like, if my genetic code was off by just a few percent, I could be a dolphin or an elephant. So could you. It's the tiny differences that make all the difference in human beings. Because no one would say that a pit bull is the same as a Great Dane, is the same as a Schnauzer, is the same as a teacup poodle. But they're all some kind of dog. They can all interbreed together. At least I'm pretty sure all dogs can breed together. I don't know. But last I checked, I'm pretty sure that all dogs, all the canines can breed together, just like all the humans can breed together. But no one would make a mistake about saying that a Doberman Pinscher is the same thing as a wiener dog. And we need to apply that same metric to human beings, because groups predict likelihood. The reason why we even have that in our minds at all is we notice things and then we discriminate against the things that we think would be unsafe, that could be immediately harmful, or could be long-term detrimental. The best example I can give you to prove why everyone is quote-unquote racist is if you go to the store to buy a box of cereal and there's 3 on the shelf, 2 of them look normal and the other one looks mashed and mangled and the seal on it's been broken, you're not going to buy the one that's been mashed and mangled, are you? Because the likelihood of the product being foul or it being contaminated with something harmful is a lot higher than the boxes that don't show those obvious signs of being tampered or damaged. That's you being cereal racist. That's you being the integrity of food racist. So everyone has this ability, and we must use it. We must let that guide our choices. So here's an example. I told you positive things about a Jewish guy and a black guy in America I know. Well, does that mean that here in my beautiful Appalachian Shire, does that mean that I want to go out of my way to invite a bunch of Jews and blacks to live here? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that I am making individual choices about individuals differently than I make choices about groups. Because a group I can't know. A group cannot have individual metrics. Just like an individual can't have group metrics, it can either support or defy the group metric. So, why would I not want to invite a bunch of blacks or Jews or Muslims to live where I live? Because they are not of my group. People who are willing to prove themselves that they are part of my group and that espouse my values and care about my kinfolk and my way of life, that has to come through adaptation, through experience. And if those people are anonymous and there's no social pressure for any of the groups to conform to my ways, then it doesn't happen. This is called numerical courage and numerical diffidence in the Go Free method, by the way. And if you look at group metrics on, let's just use black people in America, they're way more likely to do sport as a career or scholastic path, and they are way, way more likely to be involved in violent crime, organized gang crime, and doing bad no-no rapey shit. Well, while that's true, a random black person you meet in America, it's not exactly like it's a flip of the coin if they're going to be an NFL lineman or a serial rapist murderer that is part of a drug gang, right? Like, there are other factors that go into this, like location. What city do they live in? What kind of income bracket did they come from? What kind of parenting did they have? Because even more so than race, abusive father and fatherlessness are higher predictors of violent crime and organized crime than even race. But our side of things doesn't talk about that much. So the reason I bring all this up is I got into an argument, like I said, that spawned in me a reason or an impetus to share all of this with the sort of American nationalist pro-white cluster of people that surround me is we do need to be discriminating and judgmental on group metrics. Like this is why we should be against mass migration. This is why we should be against non-integration enforcement. This is why we should be for integration enforcement with any immigrants, even if they're white, even if they're British, even if they're Finnish or whatever. There must be some kind of social, financial, legal enforcement for immigrants to conform to the ways, to the language, to the customs of a host population, or you're just setting yourself up for division, for fission, for failure. Because birds of a feather flock together, and without pressure, those tiny, tiny bits of genetics that make us different, they come to the surface and they cause problems between people who have differing genetics. It's just a truism. It's an observable truism on Earth. And you need to observe that in an intelligent way and make decisions on that in an intelligent way. It is unintelligent to say, well, the data show that black people in America are more predicted for sports and violent rape, let's say. And then you look at every single black person that you ever see again as some kind of possible athlete or rapist. That doesn't make any sense. You know that's not true. Even if the data tell us that that element of their immutable characteristics predicts that behavior, you should not apply that at an individual level, nor should you judge others who have individuals that they have vetted, trust, and spend time with as part of their lives. We are going to need all the help we can get to have any kind of positive future for white people. Look where we live. Even in the United States, in these United States, as we used to call them, where we have millions and millions of isolated armed white people. We even have people who are non-white living amongst us out here. They're not going away. It's unethical, immoral, and stupid to want to try to ethnically cleanse any of them. That's dumb. Wouldn't you rather have all of the people out here that know us and that are friends of us? Wouldn't you think don't you think it's a good idea to have those people conform to our way, to align to the visions and the goals that we have, and let them inspire other mixed race or non-white people to love us, to lift us up, to celebrate us and build community with us? That's how the human zeitgeist is working right now. It's not being won with bullets, it's being won with social media and influence. Why do you think that companies spend billions of dollars a year buying influencers to talk about certain things, to show certain products? Because that's what works in this day and age. It's just what works. And so, in the spirit of winning, in the spirit of success and having a thriving future, we need all hands on deck, even if they happen to be mixed race or non-white, even if they happen to come from a Jewish or a Muslim heritage, even if they happen to be from China or Russia. We need to include the ones that we can vet and that we know are on our side, and we need to let that metric of individual judgment not interfere with group judgment, because that's anonymous, not personal. And so I know this has been a long video. I'll try to trim it down the best I can. But I had a lot I wanted to get out this morning about using discrimination in a healthy, correct way, and why you should not use the group data to demonize and punish individuals the way that you would exclude a group. Because individuals aren't groups, and groups are not individuals. And that's just how it is. And I don't feel like that is... What I just said, I feel like, is completely factual and not a political lens or an ideology. That's just how I see the reality that we live in. So I hope that means something to you, and I hope that this inspires some of you to maybe make better decisions, to maybe cool it with some of the internal hatreds you might have, because that hatred is going to lead you astray. Be wise to not trust the banker. Be wise to not leave your daughters with foreign men. But on the other side of that token, don't let your discernment, your discrimination, your fears lead you astray to make foolish choices and to not give a hand to allies that will help us in this great struggle. And I'll leave it there. I love you guys. I don't think I'm going to be able to have a corner club this week. I'm trying to put something together, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But I'm definitely going to have Giant Geo next week. That'll be a lot of fun. He's just a lovely man. And we're going to have a good conversation next Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. God bless.